We don't know when it started, when the whole tradition of Maslenitsa started, but most of researchers think that it started because Eastern Slavs celebrated the beginning of the new year during closer to the time of the spring solstice. However, the celebration had to be moved back to February and March because of the Great Lent, the Orthodox Church Great Lent, which continued for 40 days right before the Easter. And that's how Maslenitsa became a week before the Lent. Actually, Church was against all those festivities, and it's church clergy that shortened the festivities to 8 days. It's considered that they used to be even longer, so people celebrated for up to 2 weeks. Thus, we don't know, there is no particular day when Maslenitsa starts and when Maslenitsa ends. It depends on the Easter that particular year, and it's exactly a week from Monday to Sunday before the Great Lent, the 40-day Lent. Why do we call this holiday Maslenitsa? We hear the word masla, butter, there, and it's when people eat everything that has dairy products in it, including masla, butter. And the main famous dish in Russia and the Eastern Slavic countries is blini. But sometimes we hear another name for it. It's сырная неделя, and сыр is cheese, so it's the same product made of milk. Another name of it is мясопустная неделя, no meat. So as we see, Carnival, by the way, the name of Carnival is connected with that. That's the connection between Maslenitsa and Carnival. Celebrations all over the world, in Catholic parts of the world. If we talk about Russian traditions for Maslenitsa, we would think about two arch themes, even actually one arch theme: the theme of reproduction, the concern of people with the next harvest, which is the basic needs, reproduction and continuing the generations is basically what people celebrate and why we have those traditions. Another arch theme would be remembering the dead and memorials for dead relatives, for ancestors. And again, that theme is connected with the theme of reproduction. Death is giving birth to new life, etc., etc. So all these ideas underlying lots of traditions for Maslenitsa. If we look at this famous tradition of men fighting each other, which is called kulachные бои, they're fighting each other with fists, that would be connected with ancient pagan festivities near the buried warrior. That's how they would honor their ancestors and the dead warriors. If we look at another big sign and symbol of Maslenitsa, I'm talking now about a straw figure of a woman. It's connected with uh, again, death and life and reproduction and harvest, because they create this woman that they call Maslenitsa. They create it on Monday in the beginning of the celebrations, and then they burn it on Sunday, and then they disperse the ashes over the fields for fertility and to fertilize the crops, the future crops. And again, we can see all those connections between how death is interconnected with life. Many people associate Maslenitsa with time when they go to cemeteries. Usually they bring blini to their ancestors and relatives who are at cemeteries. At the same time, Maslenitsa is associated with the time when young men and women are looking for their future husbands and wives. Just a few words about connection between church and Maslenitsa. The connection is very intricate. First, like I mentioned, church would not support all those festivities for Maslenitsa, but at the same time, the celebrations are connected directly. They are tied to Easter. They tied to Great Lent. As if I think of my own childhood in Soviet Union, we would always eat pancakes for Maslenitsa. We would go outside and have all those festivities. We would play, we would go to the center of the city, but it was not connected with religion. The same about Easter. People would not do the Lent, but at the same time they would definitely paint eggs for the Easter holiday, and they would bake Pascha, this tasty cake for that one. So I definitely didn't see that connection, religious connection between Maslenitsa and pancakes and the church. I will just talk about each day. Interestingly, Maslenitsa didn't start on Monday, it started even at a Sunday before, and that was called Мясное воскресенье, and a saying is talking about people eating 12 different dishes with meat and all whatever meat leftovers they have, they should eat them. And people would start visiting each other on Sunday to help finish those leftovers. So all those celebrations started a little bit before, but then Monday would be the day that was called Встреча, the greeting of Maslenitsa, and all the preparations, real preparations started. So people started cooking blini, pancakes, crepes, and people would start preparing that straw figure of a woman. Also, that would be the day when people still, there would be probably snow on probably most 90% of the territory of Russia, so people would play lots of snow games, and a famous activity would be катание на санях, how people do the sleds and downhill sledding, not skiing. The second day would be called заигрыш, which means flirts. That day would be dedicated to all sorts of jokes and activities connected to young men and young women, so that they have plenty of chance to meet each other, and so that, like I said, people didn't think a lot about getting married or not getting married in the old times, as far as I understand. So people would do a wedding 40 days later на Красную Горку. Красная Горка means red hill, so during the week after the Easter. Third day would be called Lakamka, sweet tooth, and that's when mother-in-law, mother's mother, would invite her son-in-law to her house and treat him with her finest dishes and would show him all her love and respect. That's Wednesday, the middle of the week. Of course, all other activities just continue. It's people visit each other all week long. People drink a lot of wine, people eat. Everything is there except of meat, of course. However, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, that period is called Узкая Maslenitsa, narrow holiday, which means that some people still worked, at least half a day they worked, but Thursday is the day when everybody should have stopped working. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were official days off. The name of the Thursday is Разгуляй, which means the culmination of all the festivals. That's when the culmination of all those кулачные бои, the fights, the sleds, the jokes, the visiting, so that would be in real force. And then Friday was called Тещины вечерки. That's when sons-in-law paid their debt to their mothers-in-law. They would invite them to their house, and then it would be daughters would cook blины, and the family of the husband would meet and greet and entertain the family of the wife. As you know, traditionally women were expected to live with their husband's family. Thus, Saturday was a specific day when those wives they had that special treatment from their family, and it was called Заловкины посиделки. Means Zalovka is sister-in-law, so it was devoted to sisters-in-law, and they just showed again each other their best characters, their best qualities. They would treat each other, they would hug each other and say all the nice things. So a very, very, very pleasant time. So all these peaceful exchanges, all these joyful conversations, it would all culminate on Sunday, which was called Прощенное воскресенье, when everybody was supposed to ask each other for forgiveness. Everybody needed to say, "Forgive me," to everyone. And the answer would be a standard one. It would be Бог простит, God will forbid you, which sounds a little bit cold, but it was a traditional answer, so nobody would be offended by it or anything. But supposedly everybody would start the Lent with, so it would be like a confession to public, to everyone. Again, that's an interesting connection between church and the holiday. And again, on Sunday was important because that was the day when they would burn the figure of Maslenitsa, and they would put the ashes over the fields or wherever to symbolize the end of winter, the beginning of spring, the end of Maslenitsa celebrations. My memories of Maslenitsa are vivid. I loved that celebration. I loved blini. Usually they would involve caviar. I loved caviar as well. Usually they would involve hot drinks in the cold air. It would be still really cold. I grew up in Moscow. I grew up in Ural Mountains, St. Petersburg. All these years, I remember how cold it was outside and how much fun it would be to drink медовуха. It's mead drink, no alcoholic, of course, non-alcoholic drink, hot drink, and to eat blini and watch how they burn the figure of Maslenitsa, to do хороводы. Хороводы, it's when people just hold each other's hands and they just like walk around the said Maslenitsa and sing songs. I particularly didn't know all those traditional songs that were supposed to be sung during Maslenitsa. Some regions, they had their own kaleda, those traditional songs, but I would love to, of course I was enjoying listening to them and everything. Nowadays, Maslenitsa celebrations are even more supported by media, by all sorts of administration of the cities. I would say traditions are being reborn. There are the celebrations of Maslenitsa are more in force than they used to be. Interestingly, people who are not even believers, just regular people, they love to ask for forgiveness on прощенное воскресенье, on Sunday. They would ask for forgiveness to all their friends on Facebook. They would those posts everywhere. Forgive me, my friends. I think this is a funny thing.